Hey, good evening, everybody.
Hey there. How is everybody? We're on.
We're on.
And we're here.
Got 1 minute, so.
Good.
All right.
Oh, we may have dogs barking.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I was just going to say that would have been, I'd love him to be with us, but that wouldn't work. All right, guys, it is 7:00 and we'll go ahead and get started. I'll introduce ourselves or myself. I'm Joanne Curtin. I work with my better half, Tom Curtin, with the Curtin team here in Roswell, Georgia. It's our 20th year in real estate, and we are always on the journey. We're still on the journey. So we're looking forward to sharing with you guys how to be the bank tonight. Anything else you want to share, introduce?
Let's go here. All right, so we run this group. We definitely want it to be interactive, so you guys jump in wherever you want. We'd love it to be a discussion, but we'll definitely run through the material. We want it to be a resource for you guys, so using the meetup, reaching out to us directly if we can make any connections for you.
Yeah,
we would love to help you because we all learn from each other.
And I don't know if you're raising your, if you raise your hand on this, I don't know if we can see that since we're talking or sharing. So just interrupt. Okay. Yeah. We're just going to have that.
So like Joanne said, we work together. She helps sellers with maximizing their properties. I run a property management group and also help investors with their deals. So even if, you know, we're not involved in it, I'm happy to look at your deals and run numbers. I love that kind of stuff. So would love to be a resource for you guys with that.
Yeah.
So that is us. We are the Curtin team, and tonight we're going to talk about being the bank and how you can build your business or build your wealth, I should say.
And before we get started, if anybody wants to put really the whole point of this, guys, is to just get introduced to others in this group. There's going to be introductions of how others might want a bank or be the bank. So put your info in the chat, and then these connections can be made.
Yeah, for sure. Put your info in the chat. We'll put ours in there here at the end, but go ahead and throw it in there now if you want to. And if anybody wants to raise their hand, introduce themselves, we'd love to hear what you're all about and what you're looking to gain from tonight. So if you're brave and you want to take yourself off mute and jump in, or just
no, you don't have to be off camera.
Or
you can just be a voice. That would be nice. Yeah, if anybody wants to tell us a bit about yourself, any kind of niche you've done or anything you're looking for, that would be a win. And what you would hope to benefit from this tonight.
All right, I'm gonna, before we start, throw my email here in the chat if you want to reach out. All right. Anybody? Okay. All right, we'll jump in. All right, so this is really important tonight. As always, we are not attorneys, we are not CPAs, so we are going to share what we know, but definitely anything that we say you want to check out on your own, and anybody you meet in this group. You know, there might be somebody who's looking for a loan or
Mhm.
somebody who offers a loan, you need to do your own due diligence
Yeah.
on those folks. In this group, we don't have the ability to
Yeah, we're
filter that out.
we're
So,
connecting, we're connectors, not vetting everyone that, meeting each other here. So that's just kind of something for your due diligence.
yeah. So, this is kind of the whole gist of it, right? You can lend money to other investors, just like the bank. So that we're going to get into some examples of what that might look like. But a lot of people don't think about this step and how you can basically make your capital work for you, right? So you hear it referred to a lot as hard money lending. We call it private lending. That hard money is kind of an older term, but you still hear it a lot. But you're basically providing money for a commercial purpose. This is not a mortgage, so don't get confused with that. It's definitely not a mortgage, but this is typically used to purchase a property, do the renovation.
Using unconventional terms like a 70% or, just different out of the box ways of traditional commercial borrowing. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, it's commercial. It's not a residential mortgage loan. So if you want to get that type of loan, then you would want to go through an actual mortgage lender or a bank. This is a commercial loan. It's usually a short-term situation, right? And that's the reason that you're doing it is it's fast. It's a little easier. You don't have to jump through all the same hoops. But it is secured by real estate.
Yeah, and if you were acting as a you'd have to be, that's like underwriting rules. I mean, if we had our lender on here, it would be lots of hoops to jump through. So this is not for someone to put you're not lending money for someone to put a personal roof over their head.
Yep. Yep. So it can't be owner occupied. So it's not your personal house. Where again, you're not a mortgage originator. You are required, otherwise you would be required to follow the Mortgage Licensing Act, RESPA, all that stuff. And you would want to, one thing I would encourage you to do is connect with an attorney. If you don't have somebody that you use, we can connect you, but you want to have obviously documentation. This isn't just kind of a handshake. I wouldn't recommend that. And there's a process for making the loan, and we're going to get to all that, but it is secured by real estate collateral. So.
Yeah, and before we jump into all this, I mean, kind of what Tom and I talked about before this sharing was like, why would someone want to be a private lender, right? Like, what's the advantage of this? Why do people even want to get into this and do it? And basically, I mean, the big aha Tom and I both know from this is that you can essentially double your net worth over 4 years if you run this private lending program, whatever you want to call it. So, I mean, that's an aha, like, why do people even get into this arena? Well, that's why. Right. I mean, if you could double your net worth every 4 years, this is a plan.
Yeah. I mean, it's all about, making your money work for you and work smarter. So I think that you should have completed a few of your own projects, because part of this process, if somebody comes to you, and again, we're going to use some examples, but you want to be able to vet the deal, right? Like, you don't want to lend money, even though it is secured by that piece of real estate. You don't want to get that piece of real estate back if it's a bad deal to begin with. So you want to have some understanding of the numbers and the rehab and what this person's trying to do.
Yeah, so have some under your belt for sure.
Yeah, before you jump into this arena. So you yourself have done some rehabs, or that's kind of why we have gone in this order. That if you followed us with what we talked about, this is kind of
the ending,
a few steps beyond just doing a rehab or wholesaling or something like that, right? So anyway.
Yeah.
And last month, I should say, we talked about self-directed IRAs, which is an opportunity. So you can lend money from your IRA, your self-directed IRA, which is a great opportunity. So if you didn't see that one, I would go back and watch the recording or email us. We can send you the link. But there's a lot you can do with self-directed IRAs, and a big one of them is being a private lender,
Yeah.
lending money out.
And when we talk about the rates and everything, that's when it's all going to make sense. So
yeah.
Okay.
So what you're trying to do, again, if you're the lender and you're trying to vet this deal, you're determining what's a reasonable ARV, right? So
and say what ARV.
So after repair value, right? So you want to look at the deal. You're trying to figure out, all right, how much do we reasonably think it's going to cost to renovate? How much do we then think the house is going to be worth? And then, I think, pulling a credit report, there's a lot of ways you can do that now, but credit's not the most important thing in this arena, but it is a thing. If somebody has a 500 credit score, you may not want to lend them as high of a percentage of money. Or anyway, you just may want to think twice about it. So I would still run a credit report, even if you've done all the numbers on the rest of the deal. And then, how do you want to structure the repayment terms so that you're getting the return that you want? So we're going to get into all that. But yeah. So how does it work? The borrower basically signs a commercial promissory note. Again, this is something you would partner with an attorney on. They would draft that promissory note. And in that note, it's going to define the terms of the loan. So, how much is it going to be? What's the interest? Timing on repayment? What happens with default? And what's the guarantee on that note? Those are the main things.
Yeah, and I was going to share, like this, you're lending money on a property that maybe someone found that they have an opportunity to purchase that needs work, and they just need untraditional lending. Okay, and that's what you're lending money on. It's not a commercial property, but it's of commercial use because they're not living in it, putting a roof over their head. They're looking at to hold it for 6 months or whatever to do the rehab. So there's obviously opportunity, short-term opportunity. You're going to get your money back on this. But that's kind of like why a lot of this private money lending is happening.
Right. So then the next step, borrower, the person that you're lending it to, the borrower would sign that commercial loan agreement, stating that the loan's going to be used to acquire this particular investment property, and that property is going to be pledged as collateral, right? So in other words, if they default, then you would get that property. So that's the security on it. Oops.
Wow, you're going really fast.
Okay.
And all those terms are just completely negotiable. I mean, based on your risk or what it's all of it is very, very specific.
Yep. So again, you would want to partner with an attorney. So they're going to sign a deed of trust, giving that trustee, usually the attorney representing the lender, which is you, the right to foreclose and take back the property if the loan is not repaid. So Georgia actually has one of the easier processes as far as like nationwide of how you can foreclose on a property. You don't have to go through the whole court system like you do in some other places. So it's definitely favorable to the lender in Georgia.
Yeah, and we know someone in Texas who did private money lending, and then someone actually did not hit a deadline, needed more funds to get something completed, and then it was written in the contract that there would actually be even more of a reward for the borrower should that occur. So all of this is just a big moving parts thing. Their timelines could be delayed, and there's a lot of reasons to have an attorney, obviously a real estate attorney, draft all these documents.
Yeah. So attorneys cost money, right? And I would recommend, it's probably going to run you around $1,000 for all these documents to be drafted, and that would be part of I mean, everything's negotiable, but that would be part of the fees typically that the borrower would pay. So you, again, it would not cost you the money if that's how your agreement reads, and that's what we recommend, that the borrower would pay for that attorney fees, doc prep for that. So again, the safety net is if the loan's not repaid, it's similar to a traditional bank foreclosure. If the property is worth more than the outstanding loan, again, that's where that calculation comes into play. Like, you should have a good feel for the deal. Like, you're only going to probably lend, we'll get to that, 70% of the value. So as long as it's worth more than that, then you should get your money back in theory, right? You take the property back, you've got that delta between what it's worth and what you owe, right? And then you would just resell the property, or you fix and flip it, or do whatever you want, but you should have enough leeway margin in there to get your money back, right? So the risks, like any loan, collections impacted by the laws. So Grid is based in Maryland and DC, so they're a little more borrower friendly, like they say here, but in Georgia, we're a little bit more lender friendly, if you will. So it doesn't take as long. You don't have to go through this whole court process. So still not fun, but it's a little faster in Georgia. So typical terms, again, all negotiable, but you're taking a risk. So anything less than 8, I don't know if you want to do that, but between 8 and 12% annual interest is typical terms. And then 1 to 3 points funding fee. So a point is 1% of the loan amount. So if it's $100,000, 1% would be $1,000 fee. 70% loan to after repair value max would be the recommendation. You could certainly do more, but again, that's just adding to the risk of doing it. And then these are generally short term, so 6 to 12 month repayment. If they're doing a rehab, fix and flip, it should not take more than 12 months. If it does, then that's a problem anyway. So the faster, the better. But if you go beyond 12 months, unless it's which I wouldn't recommend on your first one, like a new construction project,
Right,
that
no.
takes a lot longer.
Yeah.
If this is your normal fix and flip, somebody should be in and out in that window pretty easily. And then prepayment of some of the interest and most or all of the funding fee, again, that's negotiable. So you could ask that funding fee is paid at the time that the loan is made, or you can build it in. Some of the interest you're collecting along the way. Potentially, again, you can make it all due at the end, or you could say, okay, you're going to make interest only payments starting in month 3 or something like that, right? All negotiable, but again, the sooner you can get your money back, obviously the better, and then you can turn it to go on to the next. So as the person's going through, another thing, going through the rehab, you can negotiate like a construction holdback. So you can hold back some of the money and give them draws based on what they've done to the house. So again, that just further protects you, that they're not taking all the money, never doing the repairs and going away. That would be an issue. So yeah, so that's not a bad idea to do. Construction holdback, meaning, you would release, if they're expected to put $100,000 in, you'd give them draws towards that as you see them progressing through the rehab.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or not, or change terms if they're not progressing, and then it's more of a risk. So.
The last thing is, you've got the property secured, or you've got the loan secured by the property, but you could also ask for a personal guarantee, which would attach to other things. So again, that's negotiable. All right, here's an example. So this house has an after repair value of $300,000. This investor has found it, and they've secured a contract for $175,000 to purchase it. They expect it's going to take them 6 months to buy it, rehab it, and then get it resold to the next person. And they are estimating $50,000 to do all the repairs. Okay.
And draws as it progresses further.
So what the loan would be based on is 70% of that expected after repair value. So the maximum loan in this case we would recommend would be $210,000. So we're going to do 12% interest. That's just simple math because that's basically 1% of the loan amount each month. So that'd be $2,100 a month again on a $210,000 loan. And then this is just an example, but 2 points for a funding fee. So again, 2 points or point is 1% of the loan amount. So 2 points would be $4,200. So maybe you ask for 2 months prepaid interest and the 2 points up front. That's your loan funded at closing. So $151,600 at closing. Okay. You tracking?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank God it's all on the slide.
Yeah. So we're doing 210,000, right? Because that's your max loan amount minus the 50,000. That's what you're going to give them for repairs minus 2 months interest and the funding fee.
Yeah.
Okay. So the borrower, they're going to have some cash. So that would be something to make sure of, right? That as you're doing your due diligence on this particular borrower, you want to make sure that they're not going to, that they have some skin in the game and they have the funds to be able to complete this deal. So they're going to have $175,000 purchase price minus you're giving them at closing $151,000 of a loan. So there's $24,000 they're going to have plus the $4,000 in closing costs. So that's $28,000, right? Then they're going to need the money to pay some of that interest and some of the rehab, right? So again, they're $175,000 plus $50,000 for the rehab, $8,400 in prepaid, $8,400 in the remaining interest, and $4,000 in closing costs. All in, that's $245,800 minus when you max out the loan that you're giving them, $210,000. So they're going to have $36,000, right, out of their pocket. So why would somebody do this, right? But the other scenario would be if they bring in a partner and say, okay, I found this deal and let's partner on it, right? Under that scenario, the borrower's loan costs $16,800. They profit $40,000 after sales costs. Their return is versus a 50% partner, right? They're coming out better, right, than splitting the profit because they're keeping all the profit. They're just paying for these loan costs. So that's why people do it, right? It's better for them. They know that it's the deal and what their expected profit is. So they're willing to pay these loan costs and not bring in a partner that they have to then split the actual proceeds on, right? So annualized, because of the fees, you would earn as the lender 16%, right? And that's what you were saying earlier. Like if you can get 16% annualized, then you're doubling your money
every 4 years.
Every 4 years.
This slide is this is the slide. It's just so wow. So and not always 16%. I mean, that other slide before was like 12%, 10%. I mean, you're doing this for 6 months. You're getting your money back, right? I mean, it's like 6 months run. It's not for your money's not tied up for a long, long time.
Right.
So there's a lot of movement going on. But then once you have a relationship with a private lender, that's something that's valued over time. You've got this relationship, and that goes a long way. So that can grow and grow and grow. So once one opportunity comes around, another one could be right around the corner. So.
Okay, so again, what the borrower needs to provide, you want them to have some equity or skin in the deal, right? So we would not recommend that you ever lend 100% of the required funds to where they don't have anything in the deal.
Yeah.
right? That's dangerous because a lot of things can happen. So proof of funds, again, we just kind of showed in that scenario how much the borrower would need to have. So you'd want to see that, like, because if hopefully they're experienced, but if they're not experienced, then maybe they're underestimating how much they actually need to have in the bank.
Yeah.
Credit application, I would recommend you run credit on someone. Again, it's not the most important thing, and that's sometimes why people do this type of private lending. They don't want to have to go through all that, but
yeah. And that's time. That's your time. So you don't want to waste time. If you're getting your time, you can charge for your time. So that can be a credit application fee as well.
So I would also say, you'd want to see that fully executed contract for the purchase, the deal that they have. You'd want to make sure that it's a solid contract, right, and that it's going forward. You'd want to review their estimate of renovations from a licensed contractor. So you'd want to know that they understood how much it was going to cost to do the renovation. And then lastly, proof of insurance for the property. Again, that's just protecting you because, again, the real estate is the collateral. So you'd want to make sure that that property was properly insured, that if, something happened and a fire or something like that and the property burned down, if that borrower only has 20,000 in it, and they didn't insure it, then they're just going to be out 20,000, but you're going to be out,
everything.
200,000, right?
Yeah.
So you want to make sure, because just like a bank, they won't lend the money unless they see the insurance. You'd want to do the same thing, right? Make sure it's properly insured.
Mm-hmm.
So, goodness. All right. Well,
wow.
we ran through that super fast. So,
yeah. And, and we can, let's take questions. It can be on this topic. It doesn't have to be on this topic. This is a lot to swallow. And, I don't know how much experience, if you have experience with private lending, that I'd love to hear scenarios from you, or just anything we could learn too.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to hear if anybody wants to share, if they have anything they're working on right now.
Mm-hmm. Or have a friend who's got anything working on right now.
I see a question. Okay.
Oh.
So what if you personally have experience with investments, but the borrower, if you personally don't have experience with investments, but the borrower does, would you consider being the lender in that situation? Well, yes, but I would run that past somebody else, just to make sure that what that borrower is saying, their expectation is with the deal, just run it past somebody that does have some experience. So I would consider it, but I think you would definitely want to get some kind of an opinion from somebody who has experience to make sure, again, just that you're vetting out that deal and that somebody else can look at it and say, yeah, those numbers make sense, or yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. Man, the dogs are so loud. I'm sorry about that.
Did that answer your question, Kanani?
I think she said thank you.
Yes, thank you.
So I don't want to put you on the spot, but Kanani, you have kind of a deal that you're working on. You want to share it?
Yeah, my husband and I, we are purchasing our first investment property. And so we just got the offer accepted today. Yeah.
Congratulations. Oh my gosh.
You.
Cheers. Cheers to you.
I know. Cheers. We're excited.
So if you don't mind, I'll share like real high level on that. So what I liked about that deal, because it's your first deal, right? Obviously, you guys want to just take a baby step, which I think is awesome. But this particular deal, there's a tenant that was already in it, right? And they're a long-term tenant. And
Yes.
You've obviously seen the property. They've taken great care of it. They don't have plans on moving. So you're buying, to me, like the deal is in that tenant, right? You're buying that tenant because those are hard to find, right? Like,
So what's the problem that you solved here, Kanani? Because it's all about problem solving, and that's the best investment.
I mean, somebody could buy that property and not intend to continue to lease it, and then you wouldn't be able to kick them out right away, but you would be able to kick them out. So I like the idea that, you're buying that, you're going to keep it, and that tenant may stay in there for another 5 years. That's right.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be a deal.
Yeah.
I mean, either way, the numbers work. Like you're paying a decent value. There's expectation of appreciation, but you're not having vacancy or having to do anything to the property right out of the gate.
Right.
So it's cool.
Yeah, we're excited. Inspection is tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So I guess the problem was the other buyers didn't want a property with a tenant in there. And you're like,
well, I'm sure there was other investors, right?
That could be a great thing. Yeah.
Yeah, there were several investors who made offers.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they'll send your kids Christmas gifts like our tenant sends us.
Oh, wow.
Those are hard to come by.
Those are, great tenants. Fantastic. So.
Yeah, those are, and I met him because he was the one that opened the door for me to see it. So that also helped because he was just lovely and his little family was so sweet. So, yeah.
That's fantastic. Awesome.
Huge.
Yeah. Thank you. And thank you for all the advice and help. I said, if he has the Tom Curtin stamp of approval, then we're doing it.
Take it.
Right.
Awesome. Does anybody else have a win? Because that was a huge win. An investment win. It could be anything. Okay. They're just doing dishes and cleaning up dinner. That's what it is. I get it. Oh, goodness.
All right. So if I think everybody's joined the meetup group, that's why you're here. But if you're watching us on Facebook, join us on Meetup, if you want to connect, put your info in the chat. Our info's in there, and reach out if you want to reach out privately. Then happy to chat.
Yeah, this was great. A lot of information. I learned a lot. I loved the whole double your net worth in 4 years.
Yeah. With
private lending. Wow.
So, I mean, I think the big thing is like you want to look at keeping your money working, right? So there's obviously money just sitting in your bank
or your 401k.
So, yeah, well, I mean, like 401ks invested in the stock market.
Yeah,
you've seen good returns on that, but are you going to continue to see 15-20% increases? I don't know. And then equity in your house, that's just sitting there. You could do something with that with an equity line.
Wow, there was a house we saw. I don't know. I think the house sold 2 years ago. You just actually sent it to me today. Mm-hmm. We sold the house 2 years ago. It was on the market and under contract for well over $125,000 more than what we sold it for just 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. So this is what private lending. This is the climate for it, right? Just people in 2 years reselling a house, and it was renovated. The whole house was done. I don't know what else they could have done, really.
Yeah, when we sold it 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was completely redone.
So they haven't done anything.
They haven't done anything, and literally the market just brought them the whole $125,000 more within 2 years. Amazing. So what a great climate. I'm glad I've learned it all. Thanks for being here.
All right. Y'all have a great night.
Thank you.
Right, thank you.
Bye, everybody. Congrats again, Connie.
Thank you.